Hi, everyone. Member of Parliament Garner Jennis here, just outside a committee room where we held our Foreign Affairs Committee hearing. I wanted to bring you an update right away on what happened, and we'll be sharing video from the committee very shortly. So please follow the page, and you'll receive those updates if you're not already following my page. So the Foreign Affairs Committee is doing a study on the question of global access to vaccines. So what vaccines are getting to other countries. And we had various witnesses today, including for the last hour, we heard from representatives of Pfizer and AstraZeneca, two of the vaccine manufacturers. So it's very important that we were able to ask these people questions, including one of the witnesses from AstraZeneca was the president of AstraZeneca Canada. And then with Pfizer, they had the vaccine lead for Pfizer. So we were able to ask direct questions about the distribution of COVID-19 vaccines around the world, but also about some of their own activities and practices. And I wanted to share that with you. We'll be sharing some video from the hearings again. And there were some tough questions that I felt needed to be asked of these vaccine manufacturers. In particular, with respect to the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine. Many people got it as the first vaccine out of the gate. Then there was a revision to public health advice. The National Advisory Council on Immunization here in Canada recommended against people under 55 getting the AstraZeneca shot. And that what followed were revisions to provincial public health advice with respect to the AstraZeneca COVID vaccine. But while that's been going on, there is still the distribution of the AstraZeneca vaccine to other countries around the world. And some countries have said they don't want it. In fact, Nigeria, which has a vaccination rate of 6.5%. Nigeria is the most populous country in Africa, over 200 million people, has said they don't want to receive AstraZeneca vaccines anymore. So we have countries that are taking these positions. But the continuing position of the government of Canada seems to be, on the one hand, follow public health advice here in Canada, but on the other hand, they're distributing AstraZeneca doses to other countries. So I was pushing them on this. I asked the president of AstraZeneca, would you recommend to those who are close to you to take this vaccine in light of public health advice? And they tried to make this distinction between, well, follow the advice here in Canada. The circumstances are different in other parts of the world. But they acknowledge that there's no evidence of differential risk in terms of the complications that we have seen associated with the AstraZeneca vaccine. So these were important questions to ask to the president of AstraZeneca, who is here in Canada. There's another very important issue that I want to zero in on, though, and that is this issue of indemnification clauses in contracts. Indemnification clauses are clauses that mean that a company is protected from liability. So in the process of manufacturing and marketing vaccines, the various companies involved have signed indemnification clauses which protect them from liability in the case of people alleging vaccine injuries. So I asked why these indemnification clauses. We heard from a previous witness associated with the Global Vaccine Alliance saying that countries that are receiving vaccines through the COVAX mechanism, a mechanism for distributing the vaccines, they have to sign on to these indemnification clauses. And any compensation that would be paid out to individuals associated with claims related to vaccine injuries would come from a no-fault compensation fund that's funded and administered by COVAX, paid for by generally governments that are donating around the world. What this means is that if there are claims made against companies as a result of complications or claims related to vaccinations, the companies will not have to pay those claims. They're indemnified, protected against those kinds of lawsuits because of these indemnification clauses. And instead, those would be paid for through the no-fault compensation fund that is provided through COVAX. Again, not funded by industry, but funded by governments. Any country we heard that is receiving receiving vaccines through COVAX needs to sign on to these agreements that include these indemnification mechanisms. And what we were told as well by people from the first witnesses we heard from the Vaccine Alliance was that industry had asked for these clauses. So industry asked for the indemnification clauses to be included. And subsequently, when I asked this question to the president of AstraZeneca Canada, she said that she sort of seemed confused. She said, well, what are you suggesting, that I asked for this? I'm not familiar with all the details of the indemnification. We didn't get a clear answer to this critical question of why was industry asking for these kind of clauses that would protect them from being on the hook, and why does it make sense for governments paying into COVAX to be on the hook for claims that might be made, theoretically could be made, by individuals who feel that they've been impacted in an adverse way from the vaccine. So these were questions that it was important for us to raise at the Foreign Affairs Committee to really work to hold industry accountable and get some kind of an explanation. So if you follow my page, we'll be providing updates with respect to actually those videos and any further information we hear from AstraZeneca or from Pfizer with respect to why we're distributing AstraZeneca vaccines in other countries when the Canadian National Advisory Council on Immunization and various provincial public health authorities are recommending for those under 55 not to take it. And then secondly, we need to get answers to some of these questions about indemnification agreement. So that gives you a bit of a sense of some of the work we are doing, holding powerful people accountable, raising important issues at the Foreign Affairs Committee. Please share this video and follow the page so that you can get those updates as more videos, as we share those committee videos. Thanks very much.